On this episode of Just Informed Talk, as President Trump is accused of crossing the red line, are we on the verge of martial law in the United States? Plus, we hear what Q has to say about all of this. Hi, I'm Craig, and welcome to Just Informed Talk. If you guys haven't done it already, please come here, click the big red subscribe button. Helps channel out big time. It makes a huge difference, and I'm thankful to each and every one of you who do that. Today, we are going to get into the latest Q posts. These are the latest Q posts. And if you guys want to get caught up on, what we've covered up till now, these posts and backwards, I encourage you to come back here to the landing page, watch this last video, watch these last few videos, and watch this video. If you have no idea what QAnon is and you're just sitting here going, what's this guy talking about? I really encourage you to watch this video and share this video on your social media to get the word out there. So today we have more Q posts, and they are incredible. They tell an incredible story, and Q talks about martial law and what is to come. So in order to cover this, we're going to start right here with post 2459, and it starts with this Twitter Eric Holder status, where Eric Holder basically says, anyone who attempts to interfere with or obstruct the Mueller inquiry must be held accountable. This is a red line. We are a nation of laws and norms, not subject to the self-interested actions of one man. Every time I hear these people speak, it's so infuriating, because they claim this, ethical high ground, this just moral perfection in themselves, saying, looking into my crimes is unacceptable, especially at the whim of just one man. Well, it's not just one man. When they say this, right, and I hate to get into a little tangent here, but when Eric Holder says something like this and says that it's subject to the self-interested actions of one man, well, the self-interested actions of that one man, that one man happens to be the president of the United States, correct? And he was elected by the majority of people in this country, correct? Okay, so I don't understand how you can make this statement and still call yourself even a Democrat. You're basically a socialist at that point. You're authoritarian at best. And but anyway, another cool thing about this is that Q said the red line. I mean, this is a talking point they've been using, and Q even says how it's kind of dated. So the next one is Q basically going on saying, imagine if the new acting attorney general now releases all previously blocked doc requests by the House, including the Rod Rosenstein secretary classified scope document. Stealth bombers fly undetected. The red line, 4 months old, 4 a.m. narrative should be updated. Pain coming Q. So a few things that I wanted to talk about here. So first of all, when we talk about Eric Holder, he didn't go through his time with Obama without having his fair share of different scandals. There's a few different ones that come to mind, but the most prevalent one, the one that I kind of know and have studied the most, is and it seems like it's one of the worst ones, is this Fast and Furious investigation. Well, what happened? During Obama's tenure as president of this country, his DOJ authorized an investigation into gun smuggling. And a part of that investigation authorized individuals inside of our government to basically sell or give weapons to the cartels in northern Mexico, which then were used to come back into our country and kill a border officer. Now, the border officer who lost his life is mentioned right down here. I'm sorry. I just have to look. I don't want to get it wrong. So they gunned down Border Patrol agent Brian Terry in Arizona in December of 2010 near the Mexican border. And this article right here talks about basically a whistleblower from the ATF who's exposing the fact that this whole thing, they tried to cover it up, right? Because when they found out that the weapon used to murder the Border Patrol agent was a firearm that was involved in this, basically it was a supposed sting, but it seems more like they were just giving these people weapons and not keeping track of where the weapons were going, that these people went and were able to use those weapons against members of our own country's armed security forces, like the Border Patrol. So this is, it's deplorable, it's sick. It's just one more example of why, when I hear Eric Holder get up here and do his moral grandstanding about what real democracies are like and how the nation of laws that we live in. Well, what were the laws governing you running a Department of Justice that authorized the distribution of weapons to drug cartels in northern Mexico that were then used to take the life of a Border Patrol agent? What responsibility in the nation of laws do you hold, sir, as the top law official in this nation? So that's my question. If Eric wants to respond, feel free to email, write me a letter, whatever. I don't care. Twitter, tweet, But the reality is, look at what we're at. Look at what we're up against. People like this, and they're grandstanding, and they're only the pawns. They're the ones protecting the bigger players, and they're doing everything they can to basically derail it. And now that we've lost the House, I can't wait for the circus that we're about to see. Right? So that's about Holder. Now, here's a hypothetical that Q gives us. Imagine if the new acting attorney general now releases all previously blocked document requests by the House. Well, that would be incredible. See, because I think that here's what the situation is. If you guys want like a recap of the last video, which you guys should go back and watch, it's pretty good. We talk about Jeff Sessions and his resignation and like kind of what the game theory behind that was when it comes to the way that this operation is unfolding. Now, it doesn't seem like it was for the best at first, but then when you look at it, it makes more sense. And I'm going to give you another explanation, just kind of go over that right now. So what that's talking about is the fact that, Jeff Sessions, because he had recused himself from the Russia investigation, he recused himself from what the Russia investigation was doing, which Q has told us in past posts. The Russia investigation was basically meant to take all of the evidence of all these wrongdoings when it comes to FISA, Carter Page, using the government, the FBI and the DOJ to spy on President Trump during his campaign. All of that. They wanted to gather all that up in this investigation so they could put the label of it national security on it and keep it out of the purview of the President of the United States and his Attorney General. So when Jeff Sessions recused himself, I think there's a lot of honesty behind President Trump and his tweets about Jeff Sessions recusing himself, because, but it could have been a part of the plan as well. But the fact that he wasn't able to even get involved with that information, a lot of it was basically withheld, and he wasn't able to look at it and to make a decision based on that, looking at documentation, right? So bear with me. So Jeff Sessions steps down and resigns now, and now his I think it would be his Deputy Attorney General, who was probably put in place recently. We talked about this back in September 18th, I think, or something like that, was when the time frame was up for the acting Deputy Assistant Attorney General or Acting Assistant Attorney General or Associate Attorney General. I'm sorry, there's so many different titles and places that people fit in here. But anyway, I think it was like Noel Francisco. And then I guess maybe he is gone now. And this new guy, Matthew Whitaker, I hope I got that right. That's just off the top of my head. But anyway, that he has taken this position now because, he was there. So Jeff Sessions could resign. So now he can step in. He's obviously an individual who has spoken in the past about, investigating Hillary and getting to the bottom of what, is basically mountains and mountains of evidence that's in the public domain that would lend itself to suggest that it's possible she is guilty of so many different things that need to be investigated further, that Comey's FBI didn't go and investigate. So anyway, if you're still here with me as I keep going down these different paths here, Jeff Sessions resigns. So Rod Rosenstein is overseeing the Robert Mueller investigation, right? So if Robert Mueller's investigation being overseen by Rod Rosenstein is their little bubble that they're hiding all of that information from Congress in, right? Because they're saying you can't give information out about an ongoing investigation. What if, Q's asking in this crazy hypothetical, you have now an attorney general, an acting attorney general without Jeff Sessions there, who outranks Rod Rosenstein now, who can take over the overseeing of the Mueller investigation, who can take the documentation that has been previously blocked with the help of Rod Rosenstein and release it to the senators who, now we have a Republican majority in the Senate, can actually do something about it. It's pretty genius, actually, I think. If you take the time to look the long game theory of it, it makes total sense, and it's actually coming to fruition right now in front of our eyes. And when Q says the secondary classification scope doc, what he's referring to, I believe, is the document where basically Rod Rosenstein went and requested that Q's talked about this one before too, where Rod Rosenstein actually went and made a request to keep more information classified. I think it was twice at least, it's saying secondary, to keep information that's classified that basically would just embarrass the Department of Justice and the FBI, and that was the whole reasoning behind it. So they didn't want to be embarrassed, which Q has pointed out to us before. I know I'm getting like crazy here, but Q has pointed out to us before that it is not within the purview to withhold. I think it was talking about executive powers for withholding, or what constitutes, a withholding for national security. And it said you can't withhold it just because it embarrasses you. And so basically that's going to implicate him, and then you don't have to have him, get fired. He'll just have to resign or he could get fired basically. Then you would have your cause for firing Rod Rosenstein. So, and it says stealth bombers fly undetected. So I think that this Whitaker guy was the stealth bomber that flew undetected. And then Q goes on to say the red line, months old 4 a.m. narrative should be updated. Payne coming Q. So now their old system, you got Brennan and you got Holder and you got Clapper and you got Comey, and they're all communicating in their weird cryptic tweets that have hidden messages. Well, you know what? One of their messages for the 4 a.m. narrative, which we all know goes out to everyone who's involved and is basically the marching orders for the media, as Q has laid it out, that was given to them to say, oh, this is a red line. This is a red line. No, Matthew Whitaker cannot become the Attorney General and release this information. But guess what? He's not going to recuse himself, as Q alluded to. Basically here, he says, there will be no recusal. So, guys, this is insane. It's crazy, but it's how appropriate. This is so perfect, and it's coming together. Q says, Payne coming. Yeah, people are going to be held accountable, I think, for their actions, and that means legally in a court of law. That's what's going to end up coming. So that's that. Now, the next one is even more incredible. It's this two Wikipedia definitions, right, for martial law and the Posse Comitatus Act, or Posse Comitatus Act, and it gives us these quotes from it. But first, let's talk about it. Martial law. What is martial law? I know some of you I know most of you know what it is, but let's just go over what martial law is anyway. And this is the simple definition that they give you from Wikipedia. It says martial law is the imposition of direct military control of normal civilian functions of government, especially in response to a temporary emergency, such as invasion or major disaster, or in an occupied territory. Now, martial law is the idea that the military comes in and they help with the regular law that's already there. And it's not even necessarily as much as the military, because yes, the military is a huge part of that coming in, but then it's also the fact that everything stops functioning the way it would normally do. A lot of laws can be suspended. There are certain caveats to that the Supreme Court's ruled on, that they can't just stop every form of due process, only in the most extreme circumstances. And here's a more of an in-depth description of the different times. Now, it goes to list a bunch of different times here that we've had to implement martial law in our country, including different riots, natural disasters, and military sieges, like in Pearl Harbor. But the next one I wanted to read to you, because I think it really talks about some important ideas that we should know when we talk about martial law. It says martial law is the concept in the United States, or the martial law concept in the United States is closely tied with the right of habeas corpus, which is, in essence, the right to a hearing on lawful imprisonment, or more broadly, the supervision of law enforcement by the judiciary. The ability to suspend habeas corpus is related to the imposition of martial law. Article 1, Section 9 of the U.S. Constitution states, "The privilege of the writ of habeas corpus shall not be suspended unless, when in cases of rebellion or invasion, the public safety may require it." There have been many instances of the use of the military within the borders of the United States, such as during the Whiskey Rebellion and in the South, South during the Civil Rights Movement, but these acts are not tantamount to a declaration of martial law. The distinction must be made as clear as that between martial law and military justice, deployment of troops does not necessarily mean that the civil courts cannot function, and that is one of the keys, as the Supreme Court noted, to martial law. So, there you guys go. That's kind of like the rundown on martial law. That's what it basically consists of. It's where your right, your habeas corpus, your right to have a hearing and not be unlawfully imprisoned and detained, that can just go away during martial law. Now, that's that. And then the next thing Q points us to is posse comitatus, I don't know, whatever, however you say it. But this is actually interesting because the purpose of this act, as it says here, was to limit the powers of the federal government in using federal military personnel to enforce domestic policies within the United States. And one thing that is noted here is that it was passed in specific and direct reference to the Army. It was later expanded to include the Air Force, but no other actual branches of government were named in the Posse Comitatus Act, which basically regulated having military involved, or having the military work basically on the U.S. soil to help codify local and state and law enforcement. So, but there is a caveat in there that basically says that it's widely accepted that every other branch of the armed forces falls under that category as well. So that's really that. And posse comitatus, like I said, would be if we suspended that. I think where the word actually comes from is talks about, for instance, it comes from like old England, the UK, wherever, somewhere. And it talks about, how they have sheriffs, and sheriffs can make deputies, right? Posse comitatus kind of came from the idea that a sheriff can go and appoint someone to become a law enforcement officer. So once they become a law enforcement, in a very extreme emergency situation, let's say. So that was a long-standing thing that still actually exists to this day. Pretty much any sheriff in the country, I think, can actually deputize anyone that they want if they see it as necessary to maintain the law. So, a lot of it has to do with, when you think of what this is, we could even, have sheriffs, deputize the population. But anyway, I'm getting a little too off track of what Q's saying. Q gives us this quote saying, "or in response to chaos associated with protests and mob action." And it talks about what we looked at, Article 1, Section 9 of the U.S. Constitution, that states, "The privilege of the writ of habeas corpus shall not be suspended unless when, in cases of rebellion or invasion, the public safety may require it." Q. So is this talking about the migrant caravan that is marching toward our border and wants to basically just walk into our country, because they're migrants and they just deserve that right to become American citizens, regardless of, any of the procedures that are in place and laws that exist? Or is it talking more about what's going to happen once the red line is crossed, right? What would the red line be? The red line, like Q had alluded to before, the red line was Rod Rosenstein being fired. But now Rod Rosenstein isn't going to be fired. He's just going to be circumvented. And that was the stealth bomber. And I don't even think anybody saw this coming. Sessions steps down. Rosenstein loses his oversight capabilities for the Mueller investigation, while simultaneously the new acting attorney general steps in, takes over the Mueller investigation, and can declassify documents that exist which prove that there was corruption at the highest levels. Doesn't get any stealthier than that. Would that lead to something where we'd have to have martial law? I don't know. We have 50 or 60, I lose track of the number, 50 or 60,000 sealed indictments, which Q's even alluded to the fact that it's possible that John and Tony Podesta have sealed indictments waiting for them, and who knows who else. Possibly Hillary, possibly Huma, possibly Comey, possibly who knows. And they're going to do all they want down at the House level. They're going to make these big protests, and they're going to have impeachment hearings, and they're going to have accusations, and they're going to have of sexual misconduct, I should say, against the president. They're going to have accusations of tax fraud against the president, and they're going to do everything they can in the upcoming days, weeks, months, and years heading up to the next election to divert the American people's attention away from the truth, which is what Q is telling us right here. The truth the mainstream media won't report on. The truth the fake news won't report on. You guys are seeing it right here just as well as me, I hope. So could that be what Q is referring to with martial law and the Posse Comitatus Act, whatever? Let me know what you think down in the comments. I really want to hear what you guys have to say. This, to me, speaks for itself, but, I'm glad you guys came and stuck around for that. Now, before we go, I have to make a comment on this. This is the behavior of Jim Acosta. Look at him. So he's in here, but not even about him, right? So the clip itself, right, is you can see President Trump wants to move on. They want to move the mic around the room. So the staffer there, the White House staffer, is trying to grab the mic from him so she can hand it to another reporter. And he won't let it go. He wants to have a debate with the president. Instead of being a journalist, a reporter, and asking a question, getting an answer, then writing a story, he's decided that he speaks for whoever, I don't know, CNN, his fans, his Twitter followers, I don't know, whatever it is, and that he's going to use this platform as his own debate stage, his own chance to have discourse with the president. Now, that's not to say that journalists shouldn't be able to have freedom of speech, but at the same time, it's completely out of the norm for any journalist who's supposed to be an objective finder of facts to actually have a debate where they make some crazy insinuations. And the worst part is when other news, quote unquote news outlets report it. Here's what they say. Look at this. So this is from MSNBC. They say, breaking, White House aide grabs and tries to physically remove a microphone from CNN correspondent Jim Acosta during a contentious exchange with President Trump at a news conference. That's contextually completely misleading. That's like saying, honestly, that's like saying I was physically assaulted while being detained by the police for breaking into your house. It's not exactly the same, but that's the sentiment there. It's like, yeah, look at how she physically harassed him. What? Physically harassed him? She asked for the mic. President Trump, the president of the United States, mind you. This isn't like just some guy. It's the president of the United States asking you to please pass the mic to the next reporter. Let's have another question. And when his staffer comes and tries to grab the thing, the MSNBC says, look, they're physically assaulting Jim Acosta. It's a joke. It is a joke. But the saddest part is that most people who don't follow this stuff closely and just trust MSNBC and think, oh yeah, they're a great place for news, they're going to read this tweet and go, oh my gosh, President Trump and his look at this White House. They're physically assaulting journalists. What is this, Russia? And you're like sitting there going, no, it's not Russia. It's fake news world that we live in. So yeah, that's spicy meatball. Sorry. I can't even, it's just crazy. Anyway, that's pretty much it. Stick around for 1 minute. If you guys want to help out the channel, click the big red subscribe button. That helps out big time. Also, make sure you come here Watch these last few videos. Leave your thoughts, theories, and insights in the comments. I want to hear what you have to think about all of this. Thank you for watching this episode. A few ways you can help out the channel. First of all, you can come over here to Just Informed Talk on Twitter. Again, that's at Justin_Formed. It's the official Just Informed Talk Twitter page. You get all my cool tweets. You get all the videos from YouTube automatically getting posted here. Just come here, click the follow button, and you get all the website articles, which are now coming back. And you can come over here to justinformednews.com if you want to get that. So, another way you can help out the channel is come over here to Patreon, patreon.com. It's a monthly donation. You come here, search for Just Informed Talk, click this button to become a patron. Every cent helps when you guys contribute. In the face of demonetization, basically what YouTube's done is they've just basically gone after every video I make. So the only way I'm going to be able to earn a living and support my family is with your support here on Patreon. And I appreciate it. It's a monthly donation for as little as $1 a month. You can help this channel really succeed and grow and get better. So thank you. And also, if you're not interested in a monthly donation, I totally understand. That's why I'd recommend you go over here to the GoFundMe page I set up. It's gofundme.com/just-informed. Links will be in the description. Thank you so much in advance for your consideration. Now, right before we go, there's a specific verse I want to share with you in our God's Grace is Greater segment. And it's from Psalms. It's out of Psalm 46, verses 8 through 11. And it's one of those things to me that talks about God being with us, right? And God is as our stronghold in the most turbulent of times. And I'll just read it to you, and then we'll talk about it for a second. It says, again, that's Psalm 46, 8 through 11. It says, "Come see the works of the Lord, who brings devastation on the earth. He makes wars cease throughout the earth. He shatters bows and cuts spears to pieces. He burns up the chariots. Stop your fighting and know that I am God, exalted among the nations, exalted on the earth. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our stronghold." Now that to me can be read a bunch of different ways, and there's a context to the broader story going on there in the verse. But this is just an example of how God works. God's amazing and all-encompassing, and it's something I don't think any of us can really, truly, fully understand, as mortals here on earth. I mean, I don't think we truly receive that full understanding until we are actually with God. But in the same token, you can say, in the same breath, that God works in this incredible way. Mountains that were, coming out of crashing oceans formed by, massive volcanoes. That's God. That's God's amazing paintbrush. His hands forming this beautiful world that we live in. And we need to remember that fighting amongst one another is something that we should strive not to do. That's a part of our our growing, I should say. Our growing as Christians, as individuals who understand that God is above all, and God is our stronghold. And to me, when I hear that, I just want to share that incredible gift, that incredible power, that incredible light, the love, the power in love, the power in understanding, the power in caring. And that is something that we need to take away, especially when we talk about all this negative stuff all the time, that is going to eventually come to the judgment of our Lord. Everything will. It is inevitable. So I want to thank you all for watching this episode, though. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And I hope you guys like that we're going back kind of to the older format. We'll do some more cool stuff. You guys just wait. We got trips to New York and DC coming up, so you're going to have fun with that. But again, thank you so much for watching Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.